And good morning. Thank you for joining me. It's 11 a.m. here in Arizona. And let me know where you are, what time it is, and thank you for joining me. I'm a little under the weather today. So if you see me sipping my tea, that's what's going on. A little bit of a sore throat after all the swimming, and it might either be allergies also. But thanks for being here. And I want to start off today with kind of talking about Mindful May, the challenge that I've had this month to meditate. The first week was 5 minutes a day, second week, 10 minutes a day. Now, this is the fourth week. So, starting today, the goal is to meditate for 20 minutes a day. So, if you're joining me in this challenge, whether you're watching this live or on a replay, go ahead and type it in. Let me know. How's that been going for you? What struggles have you had? Have you been able to meditate? And if not, what's prevented you from doing it? And that's also going to help kind of transition into what I wanted to talk about today, which is whenever we're wanting to do things perfectly, looking at the concept of imperfect action is always better than perfect inaction. And how can that apply to this challenge and life in general? So, whenever I was beginning my meditative practice and I wanted to aim for, let's say, 10 minutes a day, and I'm like, well, I only have 7 minutes. So I just wouldn't do anything because I didn't have 20 minutes. So I thought, well, why even bother? And I don't know if that's a problem that you may experience or even going into this week now when you're looking at 20 minutes a day. If you can create the 20 minutes, fantastic. But what happens if you can't? And this is really where the concept of imperfect action is always better than perfect inaction. And this, I'm looking at like even this challenge itself with the Mindful May challenge. I came up with this challenge April 30th. And I said, you know what? I want to do this. I want to motivate people to start getting into mindful practice. Let's call it Mindful May. All right, it starts tomorrow. And I came home. I was at the gym working out. I came home and I made the event real quick and put it up there and shared it with some friends of mine to get it started. And there was a lot that I could have allowed to prevent me from doing it. Well, I need more time to promote this or prepare it or to create content for it. And there have been periods in my past when I would allow things like that to prevent me from doing anything. So when I first started going live, when I first went back to school to become a coach and to work on helping people, I had never really done anything like this, like talking to a screen, talking to people. All of my experience had been talking to rooms of hundreds of people. This was very different and foreign for me. And I remember getting tripped up over my own feet, just wanting the broadcast to be perfect before I even started. Because when we're talking about, imperfect action, well, we tend to seek perfection. What is perfect? What does the word perfect mean? And what in your life have you ever done perfectly? This comes up a lot whenever I'm working with clients one-on-one. And I always use the analogy of a football season, like the perfect season. So when you think of what they describe as the perfect season, for those of you that know football, or even if you don't, that just means you don't lose a game. You win every single game. Is that really a definition of perfection? Because if you look at perfection as everything going flawlessly, well, in the perfect season of football, perfection would be every time your quarterback had the ball, he would throw it for a touchdown. No one would get hurt. Anytime the other team had the ball, you would sack their quarterback, run it back for a safety. The score would be 10,000 to nothing. So we've made up this arbitrary guide for, well, perfection means we don't lose a game. But in the reality, a lot of things can go right or wrong along that way. And how many times does not having things perfect keep you from getting started? Um, I know for me, I don't have all the answers. I really don't. And whenever I first started getting started coaching, I thought, well, what makes me more qualified to help other people? And I've learned that even though I don't have all the answers, what I've been able to do is develop tools to shift my perspective to allow me to have peace and realize the possibilities that I have at this moment. I mean, if you would have talked to me 5 years, I think everything really started to come together in regards to letting go of perfectionism and embracing imperfect action. I was racing Ironman Norway in 2018, and my tire exploded at mile 70. Not just the tube, the whole tire exploded. And I was stuck at the side of the road for 3.5 hours waiting on somebody to come pick me up. And I was furious. I had traveled thousands of miles, spent thousands of dollars to go to Norway to enter this race, and my day was done. And there was nothing I could do, nothing I could do to change it. They didn't have SAG out there on the course, and I just had to accept that. And that was really the one of the first times I can remember that I started to realize that um, things sometimes weren't going to go my way, and I just had to accept it. And imperfect action is realizing that stuff like that's going to happen. What do you have control over? And that's where it comes down to your mindset of situations. And whenever you want things to be perfect, and they're not, so you don't even start, you don't even try. So I'm doing this race coming up next month in Florida, and I'm 12 and a half miles in the ocean. Well, I live in Arizona. There's no ocean around here. So I thought, all right, I'm going to go to Hawaii to practice swimming in the ocean. And I got out there, and my friend Marcus and I, he's in the kayak with me for the race. We didn't really know what we're doing. We're just going to figure it out as we went. And that's imperfect action. Because I want you to think about in your life, how often do you wait for things to be perfect before you do anything? And what does that cost you? Because I'm working with a client right now who's a realtor, and they want to start getting more involved on social media and start posting things. And well, I just don't know what to post. And I asked them, well, what have you posted so far? Well, nothing. But well, how many people do you think you're going to get with that? You have to start somewhere. So I want to go over some solutions to help you to kind of really figure out what to do in these situations, because it boils down to fear. You're afraid. And what are you really afraid of whenever you don't want to commit to something because it's not going to be perfect? Are you afraid of being judged by other people? I know for me that was huge. I wanted to come across as professional in every aspect of the word. And when I was a spokesperson for ES Sports Nutrition, I went to Ireland to do an Ironman. And that was the first time I realized that, I don't want to do this shit anymore. I didn't want to do an Ironman. And I finally let the guard down of having to have the illusion of me being perfect. I struggled. I said, I don't want to be doing this. I'd rather be drinking a Guinness in a pub. And finally was vulnerable and allowed people to see that, you know what, being human is really just allowing yourself to have these experiences and learn along the way. So the first step, if I were to give you some advice on how to let go of wanting everything to be perfect and being stuck in perfect inaction, is make a list of things you want to do. Don't worry about the how. Like, what do you want to experience in the next year? Make a list. These are things I want to experience in the next year. And once you have that list, pick one. Don't worry about the details. Just pick one. Next, just start. If it's, I want to do a triathlon. I have one client I'm working with. His goal is to do a triathlon this year. And he was so worried about when he was going to train and all that. I said, well, just pick one and sign up. Just do that. Once you do that, and you pick something and you say, okay, I'm going to do this. View the process with curiosity. What do I mean by that? So let's say that your goal is to post on social media for your business because you have been posting on social media. Instead of thinking how I need every post to go viral, why don't you view it as, well, what can I learn from this post? What can I share about myself to connect with people? Like, view everything you're doing with curiosity. I'm swimming in the pool now for 3.5 hours getting ready for this race. And I used to be so focused on, oh, the swim is so boring. I wish I could get out of the water so I can go and, go do something else. Instead of like being curious in the pool, like, how does this feel? Just being immersed in the process and viewing the process with curiosity. What can I learn from this? How can I make this enjoyable in this moment? And if fear is really the thing that's handicapping you, a really great question to ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? Say you post something on social media. What's the worst? Nobody likes it? All right. Well, that's the worst that can happen. And we get so stuck in this mode of thinking that everything is worst case scenario. And it's really not. And when you dial back the what's the worst that can happen and really analyze that you're afraid of something that's not even, first off, it doesn't even exist right now. Fear is something that exists in the future. There's nothing right now for you to be afraid of. Even if a bear is chasing you, you're afraid of what's going to happen if the bear catches you. So once you realize fear doesn't exist now, you can just be in this moment. Whatever perfect inaction you're taking, you're doing something. Because with inaction, there's no risk and you're just going to be right where you are. And if you're okay with that, if you're okay 5 years from now being exactly where you are now, then that's a choice you make. But things are going to change, and how are you going to adapt to it and how are you going to respond? So I really want to make sure that I'm being able to help you with these, because this is also a risk for me. Every Monday I'm going to be here and share, I guess, just my insight and with some of the tools that I've used to allow myself to find freedom in life. I used to be so caught up on everything being perfect, and now I've realized things are not, and that's really given me, life is so much fucking happier now. Like, I'm able to just sit back and look at the mistakes or the learning lessons that I've made and grow from it, and have a whole lot of experiences I would have never had before. So if you haven't joined my Facebook page yet, it's free. The group, it's Shape Your Change on Facebook. There's a poll in the group right now that asks, what do you want help with? Like, how can I help you? What tools would you like to learn to be able to help you find freedom in your life? So one of the biggest things that people have responded with is letting go of situations and adapting to stress. And this is actually what I teach classes on around the country with energy. And it's based on the ELI Energy Leadership Index, and how does your energy shift when you encounter stress? Because a lot of times when we get stressed, have you ever done something and you're like, oh my God, that is not who I am. I don't know why I behave that way. Well, stress makes it limits our ability to find solutions in situations. So I have a live workshop I'm doing on June 6th. Let me see if I can put the information up here. And it's going to be on Facebook. So this is the information. It's a workshop, Understanding Stress and Perspective. Stop letting stress change who you are. So if you want information on that, go to bergeronwellbeing.com/stress. Get information there to sign up. And it's going to be fantastic. This is a presentation that usually companies pay me thousands of dollars to come in and do, and I'm offering it now for the first time to the public. So if you want to take this workshop, really see how you show up and find solutions as to how to stop letting stress change who you are, would love to see you there. It's on June 6th. Thank you so much for joining me today. And again, even if you're watching the replay of this, let me know in the chat, what was your biggest takeaway from this? What would you like for me to cover in a future video? Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day.